everyone, I'm Sarah Satch. Welcome back to another edition of This or That, and sometimes the other thing. And what we're going to talk about today is the question that I get a lot. And it's a very important question, and it's going to be a little bit more of a serious video today. And so what today's question is this: can crochet be healing? And what we're going to do is we're going to do a two-part series. This week I'm going to talk about some of the mental parts of how crochet and art can be healing. And then next week's video, we're going to talk a little bit more about physical healing with crochet and issues that come up when you crochet physically. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about me in this area. When I was a child, my mother raised me and my four sisters together. We didn't have any money. We were welfare kids. My mom worked sometimes 3 jobs, and I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you info. Okay. Now, I was the youngest, and I was very, very shy. I know that's hard to believe these days, isn't it? But I was very, very shy. And as I got older, we began riding a church bus to a Baptist church there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I met some wonderful people. And one of the ladies crocheted. And I was fascinated with it. I always, from the time I could ever remember, loved to draw and color and paint and finger paints and beads. I did macaroni art, all kinds of fun stuff. Whatever I could find, I loved to make things. And I was fascinated with her crochet. And she would bring it with her, and after church, I would sit with her and talk. And I love this lady. She has since passed on quite a few years ago, because she was probably in her 50s back then when I was, that would be, let's see, 1973, I was 10. So it was about that time that we started church there. And anyway, this lady just loved me anyway, and she was just a sweetheart. But I was fascinated with crochet, and I was very shy. I could not handle crowds at all. I would sit at the front of the church bus. I would sit over on the corner of the class. You know, I loved Sunday school. I had some really great teachers, and they were so much fun. But I was extremely shy, and crowds scared me. Okay, I didn't like it when adults would come and talk to me because I wouldn't know what to say. But this lady was so kind, and she introduced me basically to crochet because I was so fascinated with what she was doing and all those beautiful yarns and stitches. And back then, all the yarns were just great colors, like chocolate browns and bright oranges and golds. You know, those colors of the 70s and 80s. They were just neat yarns. At the time, my sister Lisa worked at a Kmart there in Tulsa, and she would give me some money every now and then if I'd do a little chore for her or mom, and mom would give me some allowance. And I started going to that Kmart, and I bought my first crochet hook, which I still have, and some of my yarn. And then I also bought a crochet book, a thin little pamphlet book, and it was like the first really book I ever bought because I loved books also. I spent a lot of time at the library, and that was when I began checking out books from the library on crochet. I loved the library because it was quiet. And I would take my crochet to the library, and I would not sit in the children's part because the children were having too much fun. And I didn't mind that. I just wanted quiet. And so I would check out these books, and the librarian taught me how to go up. They had this printer, and for a dime, you could put the book in and print off the page. Well, I would find a crochet pattern I wanted to try in some of these books, and then I would print off that page, you know, with the dime, and the machine's like, whoa, whoa, you know. And that was how I was introduced to crochet. And I felt like at the time I found a place for me, a place where I wasn't afraid of people, a place where I was really afraid of men We didn't have any men in our life. My father had passed on. He didn't die. He just left, And so it was this mom and all of us girls. And my mom was a great mama. She did her best to raise us the best that she could. And she did a great job. But I just, you haven't been around it. So I was a little bit afraid of it, of them. And so by going to church and meeting some wonderful people, because this lady that I watched crochet all the time, she's the one who taught me how to do the whirly jigs that I've done. Her husband was a sweetheart, and he was just a gentle old man, and he would tell her how beautiful she was and things like that. And so I had wonderful examples in my life. Okay, so but let me read I wrote this down, and let me read to you what I wrote. Okay, so does crochet have the power of healing? There have been many times that I have felt overwhelmed or anxious, and all I could think of is getting home to the comfort of my hooks and yarn. I have always struggled with large groups of people, especially loud groups. As soon as I am in my crochet spot, surrounded by my crochet tools, I immediately calm down. My thoughts of anxiety settle, and my heart stops beating so loudly. You know how it pounds in your ears, and a sense of peace comes over me. And that's the way that I feel about crochet. I think a lot of us, the world is so big and noisy. You get online and all this stuff is going on, and you go to the store and all this stuff is going on, and you go to parties and things, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But I do struggle still to this day with loud, noisy crowds. I don't really care to go to amusement parks. I don't really care to go to theaters that much. Now, I'll go and I'll take my grandkids, and we've gone and watched some fun movies, but they are enjoying it, and I'm like, oh, Lord, help me get through this movie, because they're loud, and stuff like that. I've always had a little bit sensitivity to my ears of loud noises anyway. My husband calls me jumpy sometimes because I'll hear a loud noise. I'm like, yeah, So, but anyway, I really do believe that crochet and art, because crochet is a fiber art. We paint with yarn. And I really, really believe that crochet is healing. Now, I did a blog about this probably 5 or 6, maybe even 7 years ago. And I've got my notes here, and I wanted to read to you what I wrote on that blog. I have 5 ways that I believe crochet can be healing. Okay, number 1, crochet can cheer us up. It can change our thoughts and attitude from stress to relaxation and calm. Okay, number 2, it is physically healing, actually changes every cell in our bodies, and can change our immune system and even our blood flow. When we calm, that's what those things happen. Number 3, crochet can change our thinking and self-worth. Crochet can change our brain waves connected to feeling and meaning. Number 4, crochet can be freeing. We can help express our feelings and our thoughts. It can lift our burdens and our hurts. It also gets our creative juices flowing and sets our imagination free. And the last one is number 5. And when we share our art, our crochet art, it gets our minds off our own problems and concerns and helps us care about others. And those are 5 things that in reality, when we are crocheting and we're in our own special place, I call it my healing chair. This is one of them. I also have one in the other room, a couple of healing chairs. But when I'm in my spot there and I'm thinking about maybe someone that I'm crocheting something for, it gives me calm and relaxation. And when I've got my hooks and my yarn and my, creative juices flowing, I'm not thinking about past hurts. I'm not thinking about what I've got to do tomorrow. I'm not thinking about maybe someone who was unkind to me or that guy that crossed in front of me on the road, I'm not thinking about bills or health or any of those things. I'm just thinking about what I'm doing at the moment. It's not that we shouldn't think about all those other things because those are important, but it gets us out of that worry and anxiety zone and in a place of calm and relaxation. And especially if we're making something for somebody else. And that's what I try to do when I'm making, I've often talked about making prayer shawls. And what I do is when I have a lot of shawls I've already made, and a lot of times I will give those to people just to be kind. I'll come up behind them and wrap that shawl around them and say, I'm thinking about you today, or I'm praying for you today, and I'll give them that shawl. And they're like, oh, wow, thank you so much. Even if they never use it, the thought of just giving it to them and knowing that they know that I care about them is important to me. But also, when someone is going through a hard time, you're telling them they're not alone, and that you're there for them. Life is full of struggles. Life is full of bills. Life is full of health issues and people issues and family issues. And it's really great to just go to your spot and maybe set those things aside, even if it's just for half an hour. It can be so healing for you. Like I said, this beginning, I said, it settles my heart. It stops my heart from beating out of control and gives me a sense of peace. Because when I'm in that great big crowd at the amusement park, I was always the girl that when we were in youth and even in college days, I would hold cameras and purses so everybody else could ride all those crazy rides. That's just not me. I'm not that crazy person. Well, when it comes to those rides, I can be a little bit crazy sometimes. And I'm not afraid to say that. My grandson says, Oma, because they call me Oma, he says, you're weird, but in a good way. And he told me that when he was like 5, and he doesn't remember saying it the first time. But I remind him all the time. I have a couple of quotes I want to read to you that I wrote down on here. One of them says, art undeniably is conducive to happiness. And that's really true for me. A lot of times I like to make just a small project, maybe a washcloth or a couple of coasters or something, and I'm just testing out some new yarn or something, and I see it come together and it's beautiful. It just makes me so happy. And even if it's not beautiful, I'm still happy. I might frog it out and try again because I'm not really sure that yarn worked for that project, but it still makes me really happy. Okay, here's another quote. This is from Pablo Picasso. Art washes from the soul the dust of everyday life. And I really love that because it really does. It's like when you're working on your crochet and you're in your crochet zone, it's like the broom came in and it dusted all that dusty life out of it. Just even for 30 minutes where you can breathe and concentrate on your art and not worry about the world and things going on in your family or friends, or because we all have family, friends that are going through things, and a lot of us are going through things. And like I said, health, finances, family problems, friends, disagreements, things like that. Set them aside and just sit down and do your art. I know that I have sort of discussed this topic before, probably several times. But today I really just want to ask you the question, does our fiber art, crochet, knitting, crafting bring you peace and comfort? Does it settle your mind? How do you feel about crochet being a healer? Does crochet have the power to heal you? Even just for 15, maybe 30 minutes to help us calm down and concentrate on something else besides our struggles. And if it does, I would really love to hear what you have to say about it, your comments. And remember, as I always say on our this and that questions, there are no wrong answers. Please comment with your thoughts because you know I love to read all of your comments, because even on this subject, I can learn from you and we can all learn from each other. There may be things that you do that help you that you can share with all of us. And the last thing I want to say is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. This is just from my own experience and how I was helped through the healing power of crochet. And so before I let you go, I want to give you one more quote from an artist. This is from Vincent van Gogh. The only time I feel alive is when I'm painting. And I sort of feel that way with crochet. And when I mean alive, I just mean creative, is when I am creating something. That's why I always say I love the designing process the best. I love writing out patterns. I love testing yarns. I love creating. I love crocheting. But my favorite part is designing. That is my favorite part. And that's when I'm feeling alive, regenerated, and even like reborn, you know, it just livens me up. So I hope that you have learned something today, and I hope you'll learn something from others as they comment and you comment as well. Now, this week we talked about the healing powers mentally or psychologically. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm any of that. It's just my own experience. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, we get some aches and pains from crocheting and things like that. We're going to talk about some physical healing we can do, having to do with crochet. All right. Well, thanks for being with me today. I hope this video was helpful to you. And remember, comment, and I'll see you next week.